12 is a wonderful problem. We're given the graph of f shown above, and we want to find the value of the integral from -1 to 9 of 3 times f of x plus 2. Well, if we find the sum of the areas of these two regions right here, that will be equal to the integral from -1 to 9 of f of x dx. And then we can take care of the 3 and the plus 2 afterwards. So let's get these areas for starters. Well, we can see here, if we just work off of the grid marks, yes, this is a trapezoid, and you can do the sum of the bases times the height and divide by 2, or we can just count here, because we see that we're talking about unit squares. So 1, 2, 3, and a half. So this first region is 3 and a half. Now, it is below the x-axis, so we do have to keep in mind that that number will be negative, since we are below the x-axis. We then have a triangle. The base of the triangle goes from 3 to 9, so the base is 6 units. The height is 2 units. Alright, so the area is going to be half the base times height. Base times height is 12. Half of that would be 6. So our integral is -3.5 plus 6, or 2.5. Alright, so just keep that in mind, that the integral from -1 to 9 of f of x dx is equal to 2.5. That's going to come into play in a moment. What do we have to do with that? Well, let's go to our integral now. Okay, let's break this up. This is equal to the integral from -1 to 9. We have a plus just like the previous example, so we can break it up into two integrals. Right. The 3 is a coefficient, so it can go out front of the first one. And then the 2 is there. Okay, so what do we have? We have 3 times the integral from -1 to 9 of f of x. But we know dx, but that's 2.5, so we have 3 times 2.5 plus, and then we have the integral from -1 to 9 of 2. So let's do this. Let's go back to our graph here, all right? And we've got the, let's graph y equals 2. That's this blue line right there. We're going to go from -1 to 9. So we want this blue region right there, which is obviously a rectangle. The base of the rectangle, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 units, which we could obviously get by doing 9 minus -1. So the base is 10, and the height is 2. Right, so that means that we are adding the area, which is 20. Well, 3 times 2.5 is 7.5, and when we add 20 to that, we get 27.5, which is why our answer is going to be C.